Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today I'm chatting with Steven Tey from Vercel and also Dub. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. And just a little bit more of context and introduction. I'm Dani Passos. I'm the DevRel lead at Hashnode. Steven, if you want to give us a quick introduction, that would be awesome as well.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, my name is Steven, and as you guys already know, I work at Resale, and it's such a pleasure to be here because there's a lot of takeaways that I've had from the past, and I've also known the Hashtag community for a long time now, even before I joined Resale. So yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit about how I joined Resale, how I got into developer relations, and talk a little bit about the AI space as well.
Well, that would be awesome. And yeah, that would actually be my first question for you. How did you start at Vercel and how was the journey until you got there?
It's a very interesting story. It's a little unconventional compared to other folks' story, but the way I got started at Vercel was I was actually building another startup at the time, and it was a company called One Word Domains. It's like a platform for people to find available domain names for them to register for their startups. And I was trying to expand that beyond just domains and then build it into a venture-backed startup. And actually raised a small pre-seed round at the time from a good friend and also who runs an accelerator program. But also at the time, I also got to know Guillermo, who is the founder of Vercel. I actually reached out to to do a partnership with domains,
Nice.
and it's funny. I sent a cold email and to a general email at Vercel. No one responded. And a week later, I was like, I'm just gonna reach out directly to the CEO. And surprisingly, he did react. He did respond to me, and he was like, "We're not really focused on domains at the moment, but I would love to get to know you and your company." And that's how we first got connected and sort of became uh, friends ish. So yeah, and after that, when I told him that I was about to start my own company, he was like, why don't you take this opportunity to join Vercel and kickstart a career here? Learn more about open source, about B2B sales, about hiring and managing people. And he was like, I'm 100% certain you'll learn way more working at Vercel than starting your own thing at the moment. And I was like, why not? This is a fantastic company. I've known about Vercel and loved what they're building for the longest time. So I said yes, and the rest is history. Looking back, it's been an incredible journey, and I wouldn't have accomplished as much as I have today if I had done my own thing at the time because I was relatively naive when it comes to product building, when it comes to engineering or marketing developers, all this kind of stuff. So I definitely learned a ton through my time here at Vercel. And yeah, that's basically the story there.
That's super awesome. So, what would you say that was like the biggest point of learning, let's say, even from your perspective now and Dub, what would you say that contributed more in your career, building your own product and startups? Like, what was the most valuable lesson that you had at Vercel? Was that like in community building or in the marketing side or the experience in the product itself? How was that?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway I've had is definitely dog fooding your own technology. Like you cannot be selling something to customers that you wouldn't use in production yourself.
Hmm.
And that's the value that's how valuable building side projects while we're working at a company is. And I'm incredibly grateful that Vercel is supportive with my adventures with Dub because like the stuff that I got at Dub, I'm using all the Vercel technologies like Vercel Edge functions, Edge middleware to handle redirects, to handle API calls and stuff like that. And it's incredibly valuable to be able to identify shortcomings in our existing product and where people might get tripped up and bring that feedback to the team and have them fix it incredibly fast because they know there's like real world production applications that are running into issues like that. So yeah, I think dogfooding is the number one takeaway that I've had from product building. And I highly recommend if you're a company, encourage your employees to build their own side projects that obviously has to be tangentially related to the technologies you're using. So for example, if you're a vector database company, which is like popping out everywhere, my grandma's
Yes,
building one
yes.
now. So yeah, if you're a vector database company, it's important maybe encourage your employees to be building AI applications that utilize your tech and are able to tell you where the developer experience is seriously lacking, so you can identify places to improve. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, okay, okay. And before we had the chat started here, or the live stream started, you were telling me that you were leading in a little bit more focus on the AI efforts in Vercel. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that and uh, what kind of features are you guys developing, or what is the strategy that you guys have going on right there?
Of course. So we actually have a really exciting thing. I don't want to give away too much.
Not too many spoilers, but a little bit.
Exactly. We have something really exciting dropping pretty soon.
Okay.
But I think people are gonna love it. It's related to web development, so that's all I'll give.
Okay, 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 okay.
But yeah, that should drop within a week or two. But aside from that, we've been investing a lot into guides, tutorials, and templates this quarter. And the reason for that is because folks tend to discover our products through SEO, through like Googling, how do I build an AI app that integrates with a vector database, whatever. So that's something that we've been writing a lot of content on. And some of the content that I'm really excited about recently that I published are OpenAI fine tuning. Whoops, sorry if you can.
It's
My
okay, it's
cat
okay.
was trying to get more food. Um, so yeah, OpenAI fine tuning is super important. It's super interesting because it basically teaches you how to fine tune the OpenAI GPT-3 model, GPT 3.5 model, to better suit your needs. And that basically allows you to save on token costs because you don't need to have like this massive prompt every single
Mhm.
time if you're trying to build something super specialized. So fine tuning is one of the guides. The other guide was OpenAI function calling, which is the ability for OpenAI to produce outputs that can be used to call your existing API functions or even like a third party REST API. And that's really exciting because I have a very simple example demonstrating that. But basically, you can build an application that interacts with the Hacker News API using natural language. So folks can be like, "Give me the top five stories on Hacker News in table format," and it will basically just stream everything using the Vercel AI SDK, and take information in real time by pinging the API and displaying them in Markdown format. So it's really really cool. Those are some of the two of the many guides that we're writing. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting developments in the space.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, talking a little bit more around AI tools, not only Verso's AI new feature, but which AI tools do you find most beneficial for developers, or what have you been using the most lately?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a lot, the I guess the downside of the AI boom is that there are a lot of noise, and it's important to be able to identify the gems, hidden gems in the space. But there's definitely a lot of good ones. So I mean, everyone probably already knows Copilot is a great one for writing code. But at the same time, there's this new tool called Cursor that has been coming up in the grapevine a lot, and it's basically like Copilot, but it's much better at being interactive with your code and like asking Copilot instead of having to switch between like Copilot or like VS Code and ChatGPT. It basically does everything inside, and it's much more fine tuned towards developers and the code that they write. So it's incredibly intuitive and fast, and able to construct entire functions or debug functions for you. So Cursor is a great one. I think it's cursor.so. And there are a lot of, for example, what else? So Vercel has an AI playground that allows you to compare the performance of different models. So that's incredibly useful if you're building an application and you're trying to decide which model you want to integrate. So there's OpenAI, there's Facebook's Llama, there's Hugging Faces models. there's Replicates, there's Claude by Anthropic. There's like so many different options out there. So we basically have this kind of like a tweet deck sort of UI where you can um, compare side by side the performance of those API, those different models, and how fast the API responses, how much downtime they've had in the last 30 days. So that's another cool one. And on the vector database side, I'm actually writing an article on that right now about the state of vector databases and like what are the options out there. Some of the
Nice.
yeah, some of the coolest ones I've heard is definitely PyCon, VV8, uh, and there's a bunch of them. But yeah, I think those databases are really useful if you're building. For those who are not familiar, those databases are useful if you're building like an application that allows users to basically interact with an AI application while also accruing memory. So, like if you're, I don't know, if you have a pre-trained corpus of data that you want the AI like model or the LLM to be able to access, you usually store the data inside a vector database. And if the user provides more context on their preferences, you can also store that inside the vector database as well. And that basically allows the AI model to be able to have context on the conversation. So yeah, that's those are a few really cool AI products that I would recommend checking out. But yeah,
Nice. And I definitely do want to invite you and also the audience to try out Hashnode's Rex. I don't know if you have checked it
yes,
out, but it's a brand new tool that we have launched, I think, in the previous 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of like a code companion for developers that you can use both to write new code snippets, debug any problems or issues that you have in your code, and even learn new programming languages, kind of like Ban or Mojo that just came out. You can ask Rix about it and get a full path for how you can integrate that to your code base. So that's really cool. Fully up to date, accurate responses, and all sources available for you to check it out and dive deeper into topics. So it's a tool that I would love for you to check it out and give me some feedback once you can as well. That would be awesome.
yeah, that was
Um,
actually what I wanted to point out as well because I've seen that come up, and I'm really excited for what you guys are building. Is it hashnode.com/rex? Is that
you can go hashnode.com/Rix or Rix.chat.
oh beautiful? I love that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And when building with AI, what do you think are the most common misconceptions that developers have when integrating AI into the projects, or let's say thinking about the whole idea when building with AI generally?
Yeah, I think I love that you asked that question because I've seen founders or just people building products making a mistake of putting AI front and center and trying to be very intentional with how they integrate AI into their products. Like, obviously, you should be marketing and talking about these new launches if you're adding them to your product. But ultimately, AI should fit naturally into your product. It should be so seamless that users don't even know there's an AI. They should be like, oh my God, this application just knows exactly what I want and does exactly what I tell it to do. So it should be as seamless as possible. And that's when you know you've succeeded with integrating AI. And on the other side of the spectrum, there are also folks who build entirely AI driven products. And while those are fantastic for like grabbing, I don't know, people's attention and getting a lot of revenue, I, I'm not sure how sustainable that sort of business model is if you don't have like entire suite of products or suite of features that accompanies that. So AI has to be um, AI is a crucial part of a product, but at the same time, it should not be the one and only feature, or neither should it be the front and center feature. On the other hand, it should be a feature that um, just fades into the background, but at the same time, like users find a lot of value in it by just being able to interact with the application without having to, you know, uh, struggle and ask questions on Google. One example, I know I'm being very vague right now, but one example that I can give here is integrating something like Minlify. So Minlify is a really amazing docs as a service, like a docs SaaS product that a
Hmm.
lot of like developer tool startups have been using. And they have this feature called Minlify Ask AI, which is a really cool feature for you to like, oh, dang, there's not anything documented about this, but maybe the AI can figure out how to piece together different articles and come up with an answer. So they have this feature for you to ask the docs page that you're visiting any question you want, and if it doesn't know the answer, it would just say, we can't find anything. It wouldn't hallucinate. So it would be able to like differentiate between what's existing in their vector database, which is where they store the data actually, and also like what's not in it. So that's a really good example of a fantastic AI integration into the existing product that people are already using. So yeah, it's important to be intentional about that.
Nice, nice, nice. I do think that a lot of the projects, and especially AI projects being built right now, are not like trying to upgrade an experience people are having or users are having, but just kind of like, hey, we built this with AI. You should use it because it has AI, and everything is kind of like centered around that and not necessarily on the benefits of the product itself. So I totally understand you there.
100%. Yes.
So, what do you suggest that are the most uh, maybe specific frameworks or languages that pair best with AI generally? What do you advise building with AI?
Yeah, there are a lot of existing AI models that work really well with Python. Like if you're a Python developer, it's great. Like it's definitely amazing because like a lot of these, if you want to have like a deeper understanding into how these models work, Python is a fantastic language for that. I actually learned Python when I was in college. So I came from a Python, like Python was my first ever programming language. Um, but at the same time, it's important to learn a framework or like or a language that works on the front end. Like if you're trying to build a full stack application, that is. If you're working as a machine learning engineer at a large company, sure, stick to Python. But if you're trying to build a full stack application and like, end to end, it's important to learn languages like JavaScript. And I highly recommend Next.js as a way to learn um, React and JavaScript because that basically gives you the ability to build full stack applications and also integrating open source libraries such as the Vercel AI SDK. And to do that, you just need to go to npm and look for the name AI. You just go to like npm install AI, and that's all you need to get that library. And it's very very lightweight inside your application, and that basically it's important because it helps you build streaming experiences. So think something like ChatGPT, where you type a query and ChatGPT will stream in the responses like word by word, and it's really, really cool. It's kind of like they are typing. So the AI SDK allows you to do that with literally 2 to 3 lines of code. It uses this hook called use chat, and it's similar to all these like React hooks, like use effect or use state. And with that hook, you are able to maintain the state of your existing chat items, and it handles streaming automatically for you without you having to figure out, oh, how do I handle back pressure or cancellation and stuff like that. There's a lot of like nitty gritty and intricacies when it comes to streaming, so you don't have to worry of any of that. All you need to do is use the hook, and we have really really good examples documented already. So yeah, those are really, really powerful tools when it comes to building AI chat experiences.
Nice.
Other than that, we're also planning to support more like multi-model stuff, like streaming images, streaming audio. Those are something that we're still experimenting with. I think that's gonna be big, so we can talk more about that too. Media, like
Nice,
multi,
nice.
yeah.
That would be awesome. Like, especially, how do you think that media itself is going to be impacted with AI and how the way that we interact with media?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure this is something that uh, people have talked about before, about like stuff like deep fakes. How do you differentiate between what's real and what's fake? But at the same time, there's a lot of positive applications of AI to media to um, audio, like the ability to build something like Descript. If you guys have heard, it's like a podcasting tool that allows you to modify your recordings. Like if I'm saying a lot of uhs and ums, you can just cut them all out with one click. It's like it's really accurate in detecting human language, and it's been trained on thousands of hours of existing content. So that's one thing that you can build with the existing um, tools that are already out there. When it comes to like images, there's also a lot of interesting applications. Obviously, you've probably seen all those like profile picture generator tools that are out there, but beyond that, there's also a lot of exciting ways for folks to build entirely AI generated um, demo videos or educational videos. I've seen a lot of really cool examples coming out of. I think it's what's the name of that? uh, uh, um, they generate 11 Labs. So 11 Labs is an incredible AI company that generates handles a lot of the AI audios, AI audio generation side of things, and they're able to generate realistic sounding voices for. I've seen this demo video. I think it was from Family. I don't remember, but it was this company that released an entirely AI generated video, and it sounded exactly like a human. So that's super impressive. And from the video side of things, I think AI is also catching up and being able to generate really cool looking, not just static images, but also animation and video. So I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more of these in the next months. So definitely keep your eyes out for stuff like
That's
that.
awesome. Even I've seen a few even South Park episodes
Oh,
built entirely with AI. So I
no
can't wait to
way!
see. Yes,
I
yes,
gotta
yes,
check those out.
yes. Yeah, I'll
South
send it
Park.
to you later. But yeah, it's just like impressive, impressive.
Wow. Yeah, it
Um,
really is.
when you are learning about a new AI tool or a new library to build with LLMs or AI models, what is your go-to strategy to dive in deeper, learn about it, and check it out if it's relevant to you or not?
Hmm. Before that, I wanted to preface that like with I think I've been saying a lot of like acronyms like LLMs. I'm happy to elaborate, but we also have articles. I literally just wrote an article about what is an LLM, which stands for large language model. So if you want to Google that, feel free to check it out. But yeah, if
Awesome.
there's any like esoteric or confusing terms, feel free to voice them out in the chat. I'm happy to elaborate. So going back to your question, like how do you differentiate? How do you like approach? Is that what you're asking? How do you
Yeah,
approach
like what
learning?
is your go-to strategy and how do you approach learning about these new AI tools or
Hmm.
frameworks, models,
Hmm.
and check if it's relevant to you and your projects or not? And how do you
Hmm.
go like, okay, this is really cool. I want to integrate this, let's say, into Dub. How
Hmm.
do you go in that direction?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think it's important, obviously, to not get swept up in every single like launch that comes out on Twitter and be like, oh shit, I need to integrate this as well. So it's important to identify like which one's actually relevant. And for me, the most obvious approach is just to take a look at the demo and see like what it actually does. If you have a video showing what the feature is, what it looks like, and immediately after that take a look at the code if it's publicly available. So you can check out the GitHub repo, or maybe if you have like a gist or code snippet that you can check out, and then assess like if this is a feature that you actually need in your application. So giving Dub as an example. So for those who don't have context, Dub is an open source Bitly alternative. It's a link management tool for you to create and manage and track the performance of your short links. You can use your own custom domains as well. And then I'm bringing that up because there's a really interesting application of AI that I have not done yet. I'm planning to, which is integrating OpenAI function calling into Dub. So there has been a huge feature request for CSV uploads or like being able to bulk create links. And if you connect these two, so OpenAI function calling and this bulk creating links, I'm thinking of creating The idea is to create like a free form text area input that you can just paste whatever you want, right? It could be a destination URL and a short link combination, or it could just be destination URL, or it could be whatever. And then the basically feed all of that as an input into OpenAI with my existing function of creating a link, right? And OpenAI will be able to give me like the return the JSON output that can be used to literally create links in the right format that matches my database. So that's something that I'm thinking, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It goes back to my point earlier about um, making it seamless, like a seamless integration, and not like this stars. Although the star is kind of cool, like click on the star and then like AI generates some text. Um, Instead of something super like obvious like that, having um, having a subtle implementation of AI is also incredibly valuable to both you and your users, because I could probably like build this from scratch, but it would require a lot of time and a lot of like weird regexes that I'll need to implement, and there might still be some edge cases that I can't really think about. But if I were to implement OpenAI function calling, it will just work, and it takes me like, I don't know, maybe a weekend to implement that and fully test it out. So yeah, that's an example that I think how a simple, not as sexy SaaS application could integrate something as sexy as function calling from OpenAI. So yeah, hopefully that was a good example.
That was a great example, and that's something I would be looking forward to as an user of Dove as well. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, we have around 2 minutes. I'm gonna put out my last question for you here.
Okay.
And what are the resources or communities would you recommend for building, for developers to meet each other, network, share
Mhm.
experiences, and participate as someone interested in AI?
That's a fantastic question. I think there are a lot of Twitter is obviously a big one. Like there are a lot of new things coming out every day. It's called X now. I gotta be correct about that. But anyways, it's still always gonna be Twitter in my heart. So yeah, Twitter is a great place. There are a lot of communities on there. I don't think their communities feature is as good. So just be on Twitter, uh, and a lot of amazing Discord groups too. Um, None that like stick out to me right now, but there's this amazing community that I wanted to give a shout out to. It's called the developer marketing community. So as a developer, we tend to love to like stick in our comfort zone of VS Code or IntelliJ or whatever. We tend to just write code, right, and not do marketing. But if you're trying to build a application or SaaS, it's important to do marketing. So there's this community called developer marketing community. I can share the link. It's
That
basically,
would be awesome. Yeah,
is it? I'm gonna share it with you in the private chat, but it's
cool.
mktto.dev. That's a
Let me
dub short
paste
link
this here.
that they're
Nice,
using.
nice, nice. Look at that. Okay.
And yeah, it's a Slack community that of over 900 people now. A lot of amazing people there sharing their experiences of how they marketed their developer products, and also like giving advice and so forth. And it's run by an amazing dub user and evangelist. Uh, his name is Flo. So that's something that would it's a very important and relatively niche, I guess, because a lot of people are like, oh, developer, I want to learn HTML, JavaScript, like, but no one really thinks a lot about the marketing side of things. So that's really important, I would say. Um, but yeah, I guess there's also for you to get better at a subject. Like if you run into bugs, the first thing that I'll do, maybe it's really obvious to you already, but maybe if it's not, is just going to the GitHub repo of a given library or SDK, and then go to the issues tab and type in your question or something generic or
Hmm.
related to your question. And if you don't find anything, go to discussions. If you still don't find anything, go to Google. Maybe you find something on Stack Overflow. Um, and there's also Discord channels sometimes for these developer tool companies. Um, and yeah, I mean, I also wanted to point out that there was also like these really cool products coming out recently that indexes your Discord conversations into searchable pages on Google. Which, if you're running
Awesome.
a Discord community, that could be really helpful as well. But that's more of a tangent. So yeah, those are a few that I can think of.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I did paste the Slack community you shared with
Nice,
us in the chat.
awesome.
Uh, okay. Not to take too much of your time. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I really loved our conversation and getting to know more of you and your projects and how do you go about learning about new AI tools and uh, stacks and frameworks. So, thank you all for joining us, watching this conversation, and participating a little bit in the chat. This conversation will be recorded. It's recorded and will be available on Hashnode's YouTube channel. So, Steven, thank you again for joining me. Really loved having you here today. And you guys, look forward to it next week. We'll be having another edition of Hashnode's interview with another amazing guest that we'll be sharing more about very, very soon. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye bye and see you next week.